I now invite Mr. Mohit Patel, who is an educator and an entrepreneur who strives to create engaging and insightful learning experiences. He is the founder of the North Star School, a progressive international school, and Ragaswara, an existential wellness retreat. He is also the vice president of RK University. At all organizations, he focuses on improving the lived experiences of everyone involved. He holds a master's degree in engineering from the University of Cambridge and a second master's in education technology from Howard's University. I invite Sir on the stage.
This is probably the worst time to give a keynote. Everybody is hungry, they want to leave. We are running an hour over time, so I had predicted this and I don't have slides. That's why I didn't want you to kind of read and fall asleep when I talk. So I've written some thoughts. First of all, I'm thankful to everyone who's present here. You represent, and everybody's mentioned this repeatedly, that we have three of the most important stakeholder groups, the academic researchers, the students, startup and students, and also the investors. Yeah, it's very rarely that we get all of them together on one platform. So thank you all for being here. I work here at RKU, so I'm speaking as your host only up to now. Now I'm removing the host hat, and I'll talk to you as the founder of two organizations that I started, the North Star School and Ragaswara, which is not yet started but is under construction. Hopefully we will start in the next 5 to 6 months. So now I'm not a host anymore, so I can speak whatever I want to. So I never really started as my goal being an entrepreneur. I'm kind of a reluctant entrepreneur. I don't think like being an entrepreneur can be your goal. Your goal can be to do something, and you become an entrepreneur to do that. You can never have, at least I don't feel that your goal should be to become an entrepreneur and then think what I want to do. Because I've met a lot of students who come to me and they say, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know what I'm going to do. You got it the other way around. You got to start with what you want to do, and then being an entrepreneur can be a vehicle to do that. The idea of the North Star School started as a university project about 7 years ago. And at that time, I never really thought that this could materialize, because in university, everything is very low fidelity representation of the real world. Yeah. And when you actually go to the real world, the problems are so far complex, so different than what you were told in the university, that the project literally has to go to the bin and you start again. But it kind of helped. I started thinking about it as a project. At the time, I was in the US. My home school was Harvard, but I was cycling between Harvard and MIT, where I was learning entrepreneurship. Yeah. And between doing that for 3 or 4 months in the Boston winter, I became disillusioned with the whole project of technology being the savior of education, right? And that's what we were told, because I was enrolled in a program that was focusing on how you can use technology to solve educational problems, and I was really, this is going to change everything. I'm going to. And that year, incidentally, we launched edX in 2012. When we were there, the edX is the MOOC platform between Harvard and MIT, and the mood around these universities was really of extreme optimism. And by nature, I am extreme pessimist. So it didn't really work, and I was kind of just having a confirmation bias that this is all going to fail, and kind of I turned out to be right in a way. So that was that. I think technology will help us in spreading a version of education to a lot of new sections of society which have not had access to education. Technology will of course help us to do that. Technology will also help us to present content in new ways. AR, VR, mixed reality. I did a project on AR, which we still use in the school in some way. They will help us in presenting content in new ways. But I don't think there is any alternative to the fundamentally important student-teacher personal relationships that will never be replaced by any technology, and our efforts to do that are misguided, are misdirected. We should not do that. Yeah, at our school we use a lot of technology, of course, but that's only a means to do something. We always need to have the focus that student and teachers need to share a relationship, and the social nature of learning has been proven so many times in so many studies. that learning happens in a social environment with your peers, with your community, with your teachers, and we are using technology to kind of detach that. We think like looking at an iPad is going to make you educated. I don't think that's going to work. Yeah, it might help you in getting some information, but it's not really helping you teach how to live a good life. That only a person can do for you. But that model, unfortunately, is not scalable. So you can't sell it to the VC. Yeah. 7 years ago, my goals were very simple in formulation, but I felt that the implication was quite significant. Yeah. I wanted to create learning communities that actually nurtured the intimate connection between the process of experience and how you can translate that to learning. Yeah. And I felt, and I still do feel, that we have kind of detached our educational experience from how we perceive the world. Yeah, we perceive the world in very embodied way. Yeah, you run in the grounds. The teacher caresses your hair when you do good. You meet your friends. You sometimes beat them up. Those are all very embodied experiences of a place where you go. Technology cannot replicate that. Yeah, you can have AR experiences, which are kind of, you can manipulate objects, but it's not really embodied. Yeah. And we need to ensure that we don't take away that embodied experience. We know that superficial learning occurs when learners are passively taking information from a screen or from a book or even from a teacher. You're just receiving information. That's superficial learning. Deep learning occurs when learners and teachers actively construct new artifacts. They solve real problems. They engage in activities that experts are engaging in real life. You need to replicate that with high fidelity. Right? That's where real learning happens, and that's what we want to do at the school. Of course, as the school progressed, my goals clarified a bit, and here I want to share about my journey as an entrepreneur. I'll do that like in some places. I'll just give my thoughts on entrepreneurship. Very likely they don't apply to you because everybody is different. Everybody's idea of entrepreneurship is different. Everybody's idea of what a good entrepreneur should be is different, and that is good. Yeah, we need that diversity. Like many of you, I had a very romantic idea about what entrepreneurship is, like really jazzy life, and pitching, and working on a cool app and things like that. That's very wrong. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. Nobody, the media, the hype, don't talk about the million daily cuts of daily drudgery and daily chores that you have to do. Nobody talks about that. Yeah. So when you become an entrepreneur, those are the things that kind of bring you down. You love your product, you love your service, yeah, and you think I'm going to spend all my time doing this, and then somebody tells get a team, so you have to hire people, and you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to what to offer them, how to negotiate for salary. These are extremely complex human problems that you never thought you'll have to work with. For me, curriculum was the center of my idea, that I want to build this curriculum which is going to be so broad with students learning to live a good life. Yeah. But when the rubber meets the road, the first thing that happens is you skid, or you fall. That's the first thing that happens. And I had no idea that I had to spend so much time away from the curriculum doing so many other things, which I never wanted to do, but that's how you build a school. Yeah. One of the things that might surprise you, I don't know, or you might already know this, is that as a CEO or a founder of any organization, one of the most important things you do is find and retain talent, retain people. Yeah. And I remember when it was our first year, we were about to launch. We were about 6 months from starting the school. We had no applications for teachers. We were not getting applications for teachers. Yeah? I have done everything right. No, it's a very great idea. The website is nice. The vision I've communicated to so many people. I think I've done that well. We are offering very good salaries. Our campus is amazing. No applications. Like, what do you do? Right? And that's when I realized that entrepreneurs sometimes suffer from a spotlight bias. You think that because this is the most important thing in your life, it's the most important thing in everybody's lives. It is not. Yeah, it's not an important thing in anybody's life. Perhaps, of course, it is for you. And it was very hard. And now we have the other problem. Yeah, we get 10 applications every day for positions which don't exist. Yeah. And it takes so much of your time, so that you have to make sure that you're doing justice to everyone, right? When we were not getting applications, we were spending half an hour, 1 hour just talking to them. What is your idea of education? How do you want to change it? Because we had time to do that. Yeah. Now we have to interview 5 people a day. We do screens, like we do a phone screen and then do a HR one screen, and then they come to me. So that's something that I miss. Yeah, because there are problems in both extremes. Yeah. But that's what you will have to learn. You'll have to develop systems. You'll have to delegate. It's very hard to delegate. Yeah, I want to do everything right. You can't do it. And that's very hard to let go, especially for a. I don't know if everybody suffers from that, but I'm a really big victim of that. And I'm still learning. Everybody says that perfection is good and you should be perfect. It's a disease. Yeah, it really is. It really is, because you can't really move, because you want to control everything so much that you really cannot grow and focus on things that really matter to you, because you want perfection everywhere. No, that comma should not be there when you are posting this. It's okay. You'll have to learn, and it takes time. And I've learned it in a very hard way. I'm still learning. I've not recovered. Yeah, maybe I'll try some conservative treatment for that. Yeah, but it takes time, and you need to learn that. You make sure that you are that kind of a person. Yeah. Educational organizations, I realized, work on a very different time cycle. They're not short. They're not like some other product life cycles. They're very long. Somebody told me, a professor I met at Stanford, is that you should measure universities not in years. You should measure them like their goal should be measured every 25 years. Within 25 years, what has a university done? You can't say that, oh, in 1 year you did that, because the life cycles are so long for education, for educational institutions. It's the same with school. Yeah, maybe slightly shorter. The time to product maturity is very long. We're still figuring out what we are doing. Is it right? Maybe 5-6 years down the line, we have our educational experience really figured out. So it really takes time. So when you're an entrepreneur, you always get this feeling that maybe you're not doing everything right. You're not meeting the right people. You're not spending enough time on the things that matter to you, and that's a constant feeling that you will get, and you will have to learn to live with it, because you won't be able to reach everywhere all the time. Yeah, so it's difficult. It's difficult. The other thing for you to remember is that you are the entrepreneur, not your employees. Yeah. You work 16 hours a day. They don't work 16 hours a day, and you can't force them to work 16 hours. They want a stable, balanced, clear roles. And they are right. It's good to be an employee. That's why people become employees. They want stability. You want the right guidelines on how to do your job. And because you are hustling everywhere, you expect your employees to do that. That will not happen, right? You cannot expect them to behave like you are behaving. So be mindful of that when you become entrepreneurs. This space now, as you can see around you with all the advertising, is becoming extremely heated. And I think you all will testify to it. Education, edtech startups, edutech startups, whatever you want to call them, are really picking up heat. And you see, I get scared when an education startup starts sponsoring a cricket team. It's scary. I don't know how is that money coming. It's very scary, because by and large, education really doesn't give you money. If you really want money, don't come in that space. So it's really scary, and we know that positive educational outcomes are not delivered solely through technology. We know that, yeah. But what we do on the ground is just the opposite. We keep funding these kind of things where we know educational outcomes are not possible that way. Yeah. The only way educational outcomes are possible is through this, one-to-one teacher-student connections. But they are very difficult to scale. You go to franchise model or whatever, but they are difficult to scale because schools are so social. They're so social. You can't replicate that everywhere. It's very difficult. Maybe you can. Maybe I'm just not good enough to do that. But it's very difficult. You have to remember what works in education. It might not necessarily be what works as business. They are very different things. So like many others, I have been trying to find what is worth doing. How do you change the world? And please don't try to. What is really worth for you, and trying to live like an examined and a deliberate kind of life, and kind of reading everything from sophists and Pythagoreans to like some economic doctrinaires and Neoplatonists and or nihilists and everything. Where do I find meaning in life? And as I get older and hopefully wiser, wiser, I have become disillusioned with most things that the world offers. Most things will disappoint you. Yeah. This is my internal pessimist speaking. Yeah. And I always love it when I'm proved wrong. It's such an elating feeling. Oh, this is great. So when I start this conference, we are not going to be able to manage it. Some people will not come on time, and we'll have some mess up in the food and everything. And then it works well. Yeah, this is good. It works. So that feeling is really good. So I encourage you to do that. It's good. You learn a lot that way, and you kind of start to love life that way. Low expectation, and you get to enjoy when it really happens. So while we catch up, while we play this game of speeding up, bago, yeah. We play that game all the time, running ahead and catching up with others. What we really lose is our existential foothold. We really lose that anchor to a meaningful life. Yeah. This sounds, I know, very mushy, very esoteric kind of thing, but do you feel that there is some sort of turmoil happening at the back of your mind? Something is wrong with the world. You keep feeling that, and you want to try and solve it because you are entrepreneurs. You want to really do something. That's what makes you entrepreneurs and different from other people, because you constantly feel that there's something wrong with the world. There's something not clicking right, and you try to fix that with the knowledge that you have. And the message of the world today is that you better speed up. You have to hang on. You catch up. You have to. If you don't, you'll be left behind. That's what we are told everywhere. The media, the social media, the what do you say? The motivational industry. They will always try to say that. But it's really useful to remind. And this is the last keynote. Hopefully before a good lunch. It's really important to make yourself remember that our basic needs don't change. Our basic needs don't change. Basic needs such as need to be seen and appreciated, need to be felt that I belong, to an organization, to a school, to a family, the need for nearness and care, those kind of things. That is only given through slowness, through deliberate thinking, through being together with each other. Only those things can bring real renewal within you. If you're feeling that specter in your mind, only that will solve it. We have forgotten how to work with nature in our ecology. We are so used to establishing our dominion on everything. I can terraform this whole place. I can bring this up. I can dig this up. I can flatten this. We are so used to establishing our dominion that we have forgotten that we have to live with it. There are other equally legitimate members of the habitat that have the same right as you do, and we kind of forget that. We have forgotten to respond to the natural cycles of the world, the seasons, what you should eat and when you should eat that, and how you should behave at certain points of the day, certain points of the time. Those are natural things that we used to have, and you feel disoriented most of the time. You wake up in the morning and I don't know what I'm going to do today. The feeling of disorientation is so pervasive. We need to be very careful about that. And at that time, when I started to feel that maybe it's just me, and maybe I need to see a doctor, I don't know. When that feeling was picking up too much of hold on my own psyche, I thought of starting Ragaswara. So what is Ragaswara? It's difficult to really place it in any neat category. The closest you can put it in is a wellness retreat, or an ashram, or an Ayurveda center, whatever you want to call it. It sits somewhere between all those things. And just like the school, it's primarily a learning institution. Where you come there, like RK University or the North Star School or even Raga, so they're all places where you come to learn and have meaningful experiences, which you can then translate into your daily lived experiences in your own life. But just like the school, I really don't know whether people will buy my service or whether people will pay for it. I really don't know. But what I do know is that people need it. There's a subtle difference. I don't know whether they're going to go buy it, but I feel that they need this kind of thing. And that brings me to my final kind of thought or question or an appeal to you, is that can we think about innovation and entrepreneurship in terms other than economy or going to market or commercialization? Can there be some other terms where we can try to make our understanding of entrepreneurship and innovation slightly more broader, slightly more holistic? Can we create an ecosystem where high cash burn rate is not a euphemism for operating losses? Can we make a system where it's not a euphemism for that? Can we make a system where hustling is not a euphemism for unhealthy work practices? Can we make a system where pivoting is not a euphemism for following the money? Those kind of things. Can we make a system like that? If we can't do that, I don't want to be a part of the startup culture. I don't want to be. If we can't do that, I want to be a small company. I don't want to grow at 400% a year. I will grow at 15, 20. It's fine. I'm happy. My metric is really not scale at the cost of everything else. No, it is important, but not at the cost of everything else. Maybe we need to re-examine what impact is. Of course, one way to think about impact is the size or the scale of your reach, how many people you're reaching. But would it be wrong to think of impact in terms of degree of change, not just the spread of it? Can the degree of change also be a metric, not just the spread of it? And that brings me to the final question, which is, in our search for product market fit or what the market takes, should we assume that that is what the market needs? What the market takes and what the market needs might be two different things. And you as your individual self needs to decide what the market needs and not just what the market takes. So sometimes we need to work towards what the market really needs and not just what will work in terms of selling. I have immense respect for entrepreneurs who have to struggle against so many odds. We all do. Some of you are trying to be entrepreneurs, some of you have some ideas, some of you are just thinking about it. There'll be so many problems, so many hurdles along the way. The world is literally stacked up against us in all the ways possible. We heard a lot of good schemes happening, but on the ground, when you start really actually doing things, there are some common challenges that the world across, entrepreneurs across the world face, like finding capital, finding and retaining talent, managing growth, improving the product. All these things are common. But in a country like ours, the struggle starts from the very basic, just the very basic things that we expect would work. Like, why do I need to invest in a generator? Because I can't rely on the power. Simple things like that. And then we have this euphemism for systemic failures, what we call jugaad. That's a systemic failure of giving the right things. Like I've made a campus in the city where I pay everything, property taxes, but we can't get a garbage collection truck to come to our campus because it's just out of their zone. Sometimes the building is there in the city. How can it be out of the collection zone? So you do the jugaad. You ask buildings around, what do you do? It doesn't come here. Oh, just dig up a hole and then put it inside. All the garbage. That's how. And we call it jugaad. We've managed it. But that's really a failure of the system. We should not appreciate jugaad as. That's what my feeling is. Appreciate jugaad as something to be proud of. Of course, jugaad also is now twisted into like frugal innovation and things like that, which is good, but not at the cost of not expecting the basic, foundational services that you expect, upon which you build your service. Sectors like education, if you are thinking of doing that, are so regulated, over-regulated and undergoverned. And really, red tape can put your project on a toss. You simply forget, because we run on annual cycles. If you don't do in April, May, June, then you have to work next year. You've lost the train. So we all have to fight against that, and I applaud that spirit. You don't get bogged down by it. You work against it. You try to fix it, and that's the spirit of entrepreneurship, and I really applaud that. But have you seen the world lately? Are you reading the news? Are you feeling that? We are divided, really. We are divided by lines that are deeper than ever before. Everywhere you see UK elections, our protests everywhere. We are so divided right now. And there are not crevices between people, there are valleys between people and between ideas. Yeah. But I hope that people like you and me and everybody here can move the engine of the world, really can move the engine of the world, because that is what entrepreneurship is about. Thank you.
Sir, we can clearly see your vision taking shape whenever we get to meet the learners from North Star School. I request Dr. Neil Perry from Western Sydney University to present a memento to Mohit sir.